Hey viewers, we're back with another video. This time it's something new and exciting in New York City. This is Catacombs by Candlelight at the Basilica of St Patricks Old Cathedral. Now, when we think of St. Patrick's in New York City, we think of this iconic church on 5th and 51st Street. But the original St. Patrick's Cathedral is located in Lower Manhattan on Mulberry Street between Prince and Houston. Built in the early 1800s and made a basilica in 2010, it houses the only catacombs in Manhattan and one of a handful that exist in the entire United States. Catacombs by Candlelight is an exclusive tour operated by Tommy's New York, with partial proceeds going to the Basilica. We've added a link for Tommy's New York in the description and here in the video. If you're visiting New York, we strongly suggest adding this to your itinerary to experience something a bit different than the normal tourist traps of New York City. And if you're a native New Yorker, this is a great way to spend your Saturday afternoon. The tour kicks off at 32 Prince Street, where you check in, meet the guide, and get an overview of the Basilica and its history.
This is going to have a slate slab underneath the soil, and it would lift up and reveal a staircase underneath that goes down into a crypt. Now, the difference between the crypts and our catacombs is they're not going to be connected by corridor. Same exact kind of concept, multiple people buried within the vaults themselves. As well as the other cemetery, as well as the catacombs. There's already a road set up in the catacombs too. So these ones range to $7,000 for the catacombs. These fit 1 to 2 rooms inside. This is an Irish parish, so you would feel like you're outside. Use the bridge. Irish missionary. So that means that you felt like an outsider.
Always this is a real room.
Central corridor for now. Read some of the crypt stones if you like. Alright, so welcome to the catacombs. There are 33 family vaults down here. There are 5 clerical vaults for priests, and 2 episcopal vaults for bishops. Episcopal just meaning bishop. Don't get confused with the Episcopal Church. Now, for all of these family vaults, there is space inside all of them for 8 to 12 people. Each of these families is handed a deed. Dominic Lynch Sr., he was a wine merchant. He introduced Barca, Chef Barca, to the United States. Fine wine. Now, he was a good personal friend of George Washington's. He was one of the 300 people that was actually allowed to attend his inauguration on the steps of Federal Hall. And he was offered a good chunk of land for a decent amount of money down by City Hall. He decided I'd rather spend the same amount of money on more land upstate. So he bought 6 times the amount of land upstate compared to what was offered to him by City Hall. So, the Delmonico family came over from Ticino, Switzerland, right over the border from Italy, but they introduced the hospitality industry to the United States. They are credited with opening the very first restaurant in America. The Delmonico's restaurant was located on 5th Avenue and continued to move up 5th Avenue. Now, being that this was the first restaurant in America, they can claim that they invented a bunch of different dishes. So if you've ever heard of things like baked Alaska, or lobster Newburgh, or eggs Benedict, I'm sure you've heard of. Those were all invented at Delmonico's. So this is the original entrance to the catacombs. You keep hearing footsteps. That's just people walking into the church if they're walking over that front entrance. If you take out a phone and you take like a flash picture of this, this is a creepy hallway. There's like a staircase out at the end and it looks like, something out of an Edgar Allan Poe story. This is where the pallbearers used to carry coffins down, though. Now, the other vault down here, Countess Annie Leary. She was the first woman to receive this papal title from the Pope. Now, her family dates back to the years of John Jacob Astor. You ever heard of that guy before? So John Jacob Astor was the first multimillionaire in history. And being that he was the first multimillionaire in history, anyone that was associated with him was automatically wealthy. So, the crown jewel of the catacombs is the vault for General Thomas Eckert in the U.S. Civil War. He was not a combat general. He was actually in charge of communications. Thomas Eckert bought this vault in 1904. The idea here, to make it larger than everyone else's, he paid $83,000 for this, which is equivalent to about $2.4 million today. It's twice the size of any of the other vaults. After the war, he'd become president of Western Union and become the face of the New York Times that way. Now, Thomas Eckert, he was also a good personal friend of a guy named Abraham Lincoln. Maybe you've heard of that guy. Abraham Lincoln actually asked for him specifically the night of his assassination because he was a big, strong dude. And he said, hey, I need someone protecting me tonight. So he went to his Secretary of War and said, yes, be General Thomas Eckert. I've seen this man walk up to a fireplace, grab a poker, and snap it over his own arm. Unfortunately, the Secretary of War said, sorry, he's got to work tonight. I'll find someone else to do it. And he never did. He went by himself, or with his wife, rather. And he was assassinated at the 14th. The first draft of the Emancipation Proclamation was written on Eckert's desk. So this was a huge, huge public figure. A big piece of history, and there's a reason that we save his vault for last. This is the only one I can actually open up. I'll show you inside this one. Really? Really? This one actually has a light.
Wow.
Where he runs out and shuts the door.
Yep.
See all this? So everything that you see in here is original stuff. Let me let you know where all of the bodies are laid out. So Thomas Eckert is going to be the one furthest from me. He's closest to you guys off there in that wall. So the white closed space is for Thomas Eckert. He died in his 90s. His second wife is buried down here. She's going to be up top here in this white space. Her parents are buried down below her too. Her parents were actually the first two people that were buried down here. So they were originally buried in the cemetery. If you look on that back wall, you're going to see a massive gravestone. I have wondered why it was down here. That's why. He had that carried in. Eckert Sr. said, I want actual electricity in here. So these are original Thomas Edison Company light fixtures. Now we actually are in possession of a few of Thomas Edison bulbs across the street in our rectory, and they still work because back in the 1890s things weren't designed to break. Now everything breaks within a couple months. Also, the tile work in here is completely original. This dates back to 1904. This was done by a Spanish architect by the name of Rafael Gustavino, and he has done tile work like this all over New York City.
Okay guys, so this brings us to the end of the video, and just some closing thoughts. You might be thinking, oh my god, they're standing in a crypt. This is very creepy. And yes, I will fully agree with you. This is very creepy, but it is quite the unique experience. There is a lot of things included in this tour, as you saw from the beginning of this video. You do get a full walkthrough of the burial ground. You get a full walkthrough of the cathedral, the basilica, the closed off areas. You get to see things that the normal public does not get to see. And this includes getting up close and personal with the church organ, which dates back to the 1800s and features 2,500 pipes. And lastly, the basilica is deeply rooted in the history of New York City. In fact, at one point in time, it was a school, and one of its students was Martin Scorsese, and he's based a few of his movies on his experiences while going to school at this church. So you don't need to be a Catholic or even a Christian to appreciate or enjoy this tour. I think it's highly worth it. If you're in New York City, you're looking for something to do, check out this tour. Again, the website's in the description, and thanks for watching.